Okay, so now I've got my UFO sorted. I've got some Y animation, I've got a little bit of variation in my X animation on the rotation of the UFO. I've made sure that frame 0, the keyframe values are exactly the same as at frame 50. Obviously the Y rotation has gone 360 degrees, but that's one full loop, so that's going to loop with no problem. What I want to do now is render out frames 0 to 49. I don't want to render 0 and 50 because they're exactly the same. And if I render both of those and put them into the sequence, there'll be a tiny pause while those two exact same frames are displayed in the loop. So I'm going to render from frame 0 to 49. So let's set that up in my render settings. So output, I'm going to render at full high definition, 1920 by 1080. I'm rendering at 25 frames a second. Now, under the frame range, I'm going to set this from 0 to 49, which is actually 50 frames when you count the 0, and it tells us there it's 50 frames. That's what we want, 2 seconds. So that's my output set. I'm going to go to my save, and I'm going to browse for a folder on my desktop. I'm just going to make I've previously rendered a UFO, so I'm going to just make a new UFO folder, UFO new, and call this UFO new. I also want to make sure that my multipass rendering is turned on because I've got some object buffers that I need to render out. So my multipass is turned on. I'm going to browse and I'm going to create a subfolder inside my UFO render. And I'm going to call this UFO multi, so I know where all my multipass renders are. And I'm going to name it UFO multi. I'm saving out PNG files, and that is all good to go. I'm going to use my physical renderer to render this, so I'll just check I'm on the physical renderer, and in the physical settings, adaptive, automatic, and 20% is okay quality threshold for this. Obviously, if you want it a little smoother anti-aliased and a little less grainy, you could lower that number, but of course that will make your renders a little bit slower. I've got an old glow from when I did some test renders to try out glows in my render settings. I'm just going to delete that because I don't want any glows. I'm going to do those using my multipass renders in After Effects. Once that's set up, I can save my scene file. I can add it to the render queue, add to render queue.
You don't need a camera?
I'm not going to use a camera for this because I'm just rendering straight in the window here. I'm just rendering a loop of my UFO spinning and animated, so I'm not actually going to set up a camera. And there's some old renders in there. I'm just going to delete those. This one here is ready to go. I'm just going to hit the start rendering button. And what I should see soon is a preview of my render. There it is there. My UFO is a little dark, but I should be able to lighten that with some color correction in After Effects. So I'm just going to let this run now.